People are saying part 2 was incredible. Maybe the best podcast in history, maybe the most watched. But now we're in part 3. And let me tell you, this is the one where things get very real. I've held back. I've been nice. Some would say too nice. But tonight I might just reveal the secret nobody thought I'd say. Family, betrayal, success, it all comes out here. Believe me, folks, you don't want to miss this one.
Donald, that's the problem. You act like truth is some kind of card you can play when it suits you. But family isn't a poker game, it's people. And the cost of your games, the lies, the manipulation, the denial, it's bigger than you want to admit. Maybe tonight you'll finally prove me right.
Prove you right? Mary, the only thing I'll prove tonight is that I know more about this family than anyone alive. You wrote a book, fine, congratulations. But books are just words. Trump is action. Trump is winning. And when I drop what I've got tonight, your little psychology lessons are going to look like children's bedtime stories.
Then let's hear it. No more stalling, no more teasing. If you have something real to say it. Because the truth doesn't need suspense, it needs courage.
Courage? I've had more courage than anyone in this family. More than my father, more than my brothers, more than you. And maybe tonight I'll show everyone exactly why. Or maybe I'll let the suspense build just a little longer. Because, let's be honest, that's what keeps them listening. People love the build-up almost as much as the reveal.
That's not courage, Donald. That's deflection. You keep your audience hooked not because you're brave, but because you're afraid. Afraid of silence, afraid of stillness, afraid of looking at yourself without the noise. That's not strength. It's fear dressed up as entertainment.
Fear, please. I've been in boardrooms with killers. I've sat across the table from dictators. I've been hunted by prosecutors, and I always came out on top. If that's fear, then fear makes you stronger. And Mary, you wouldn't last 5 minutes in my shoes.
I don't need to last in your shoes. I've lived in this family. I've seen what shaped you, and I know that what you call strength was really survival. You learned from a father who rewarded cruelty and punished weakness, but you never stopped to ask if survival at all costs was worth the scars it left.
Scars again. You love that word. But scars aren't weakness, Mary. They're proof you've been through the battle and won. People see my scars and they cheer. They don't cry. They don't pity. They admire. That's the Trump difference. That's why my crowds are packed, because they know I don't quit.
No, they cheer because you keep them entertained. You turn survival into spectacle. And the tragedy is people confuse spectacle with truth. You keep promising a secret, some shocking reveal, but the real secret is this. There is no secret. It's just the same performance, again and again.
Wrong. There is a secret. There's always been one. And maybe tonight is the night. You think you know everything about this family? You don't. You don't know what deals were made, what promises were kept, what betrayals cut deepest. You wrote a book, but you didn't write my story. And if I told the real story, trust me, it would blow yours out of the water.
Then why not say it? Why hide behind teasers? Why always dangle instead of deliver?
Because timing is everything, Mary. That's why people wait in line for hours at my rallies. That's why ratings go through the roof when I speak. That's why this podcast isn't just a podcast. It's an event. And when I drop what I've been holding, it'll be bigger than anything you've ever written. That's power. That's Trump.
Or maybe it's fear again. The fear that if you ever stop performing, people will finally see what's underneath. And underneath, Donald, it's not gold. It's not strength. It's emptiness.
Empty? Mary, I've built towers that touch the sky. I've had planes, golf courses, the White House. My name is everywhere. That's not emptiness. That's legacy. And people respect legacy. They don't remember the critics. They remember the builders.
Legacy isn't what you build, Donald. It's what you leave behind. And what you're leaving is chaos, division, and a family that can't heal. Towers can crumble. Names can fade. But the damage you've done to people, that's the part that lasts.
Maybe. But people will remember Trump as a fighter, not a victim. And in history, fighters always win. Nobody writes books about the losers.
History doesn't always remember fighters as winners. Sometimes it remembers them as destroyers. And you may not see the difference, but history will.
Destroyer or builder, that's the real debate. And maybe tonight, since it's the last part, I'll say this. I've been both. A builder of towers, a destroyer of obstacles. And maybe that's why people love me, because they see the fighter who never stops, who never apologizes, who never backs down. That's the Trump story.
And maybe that's exactly the tragedy, Donald. Because being both builder and destroyer means you leave behind ruins even when you think you're building monuments. You may call it legacy, but others will call it wreckage.
People don't remember the wreckage, Mary. They remember the victories. They remember the skyscrapers, the rallies, the White House. They remember the wins. And when history writes about Trump, it's going to say one thing: he won.
And yet the people who lived in your shadow, the people who carried the cost, they'll tell a different story, a story of pain, silence, and survival. And both stories will exist side by side. That's the truth you can't erase.
Maybe so, but if there's one thing you can't deny, it's that nobody forgets Trump. Not you, not the family, not America. And love me or hate me, I'll still be the headline.
Then that's where we leave it. Your headlines, my truths. The world can decide what lasts longer, the noise or the silence. And for once, Donald, maybe silence will speak louder than all the shouting.
Mary, you can talk about silence all you want, but let me tell you something. Silence never built anything. It never created jobs, never inspired millions, never put America first. My voice, my fight, that's what people rally behind. They don't tune in for quiet whispers, they tune in for the roar. And long after we're gone, it's that roar they'll still hear echoing.
Echoes fade, Donald. They always do. The roar becomes a murmur, the chant becomes a memory. What lasts isn't the noise, it's what people felt when the noise stopped. Did they feel hope? Did they feel safe? Did they feel seen? Or did they feel emptier than before? That's the test of legacy. Not the roar itself, but what follows after it dies down.
You call it a roar, I call it momentum. And momentum doesn't fade, it carries on. That's why my name is stamped on steel and glass, on skylines and ballots, in history books that haven't even been written yet. People will always argue about me, fight over me, debate me, but the point is they'll remember me. And in the end, Mary, being unforgettable is the greatest victory of all.
Unforgettable doesn't always mean admirable, Donald. Sometimes it just means we couldn't escape the shadow. History remembers villains as well as heroes, destroyers as well as builders. You've made sure you'll be remembered, yes, but memory isn't the same as honor. And when the shouting finally ends, when the towers fall silent, what remains isn't the name on the building. It's the cost people paid to keep that name standing, and no roar, no rally, no headline will erase that truth.
Let me leave it like this. Love me or hate me, you'll never forget me. I've been tested, attacked, celebrated, and condemned, but I never disappeared. I stayed in the fight. And history doesn't remember the quiet ones, Mary. It remembers the fighters. That's Trump. That's the legacy, and it's not going anywhere.
And maybe that's the tragedy, Donald. Because being unforgettable isn't the same as being right, or good, or just. People will remember you, yes, but what they remember will be just as much pain as spectacle, just as much loss as legacy. You see victory. I see the wreckage left behind. And someday, long after the noise is gone, that's the story people will measure.